Would you spend $50, $100, or even $200 on a water bottle? I mean, what features could a bottle possibly have to justify that high of a price? Well, today we're going to dive deep into this question and take a look at what bottles you can get at different price ranges. I've categorized them into 6 tiers, all the way from a thrift store find for $1 up to this titanium filter bottle for $200. And at the end, I'm going to do an installation test of some similar bottles from different tiers to see if the cost really makes a difference. Links are in the description. Let's get started. We'll start at the bottom end of the spectrum at tier 1 and hunt down a $1 bottle. I drove down to a local thrift store to see what they had. There were actually quite a few options to choose from, but I think it's safe to say that most people would avoid them. I just couldn't bring myself to buy these nasty stained tumblers or plastic bottles, so instead I picked up this insulated tumbler, which was in surprisingly good condition. It's all plastic on the inside and the lid is super basic, but overall it's actually a decent option for coffee in the morning if you're not concerned about your hot drink touching plastic, which is personally something I'd recommend avoiding, but everyone's different. Soon we'll be looking at bottles that cost 100 and even 200 times what I paid for this tumbler, but before we do that, let's look at tier 2 bottles between $10 and $20, which I call the old reliable. This range is still pretty cheap, but you'll already find some well-known brands like Nalgene, Camelback, and Ozark Trail, which is Walmart's bottle brand. Nalgene and Camelback were both pioneers in different ways in the hydration industry, and for cheap, reliable plastic bottles, they're solid options. But many people avoid plastic because of the history of BPAs, and even though most bottles today use BPA-free plastics like Tritan, it's still completely understandable if you'd like to avoid plastic contact with your water. I even posted a video recently highlighting a few great completely plastic-free bottles, so check that out to learn more. Ozark Trail is the best known insulated stainless steel bottle in this price range, and honestly, it's a pretty good product if you're okay buying from a Walmart private label. It has a no-slip base, a decent handle and lid, and the insulation outperformed YETI in one of my recent tests, but I'll be re-verifying that again at the end of this video. And if you're also looking for a coffee mug, check out Moment Mugs. This is actually my design, and it's something I came up with when I started drinking coffee a few years ago. The mug handle uses leverage and pressure differently to create a more comfortable grip that never slips, and it's designed for people who normally hold mugs with 2 or 3 fingers through the loop. We had a video go viral on Instagram earlier this year, so we're curious to see if this idea gains more momentum. Now let's look at tier 3, which I call the new reliables. At this point, you'll start to see some mid-range brands, including many that are best known for their Amazon presence, like Iron Flask. They have very similar dual-wall bottles as the more high-end brands like Hydro Flask, and the main differences are in the lids and the cost. 2 of my absolute favorite options are in this price range, FJ Bottle and Takea. If you've seen my big comparison video from 2023, then you know I love FJ Bottle because it has a no-slip grip on the base, a magnetic spout cap, and a connected carrying strap that is way more useful than I thought it would be. And Takea, specifically their Takea Actives line, is maybe the best mid-range alternative to Hydro Flask because it comes with a bottle boot and Takea's famous lid that's both insulated and has a well-designed handle. Personally, this is my favorite price range because you can get a really good bottle without paying extra for a logo. And that leads into the next level, tier 4, which is what I like to call the trendsetters. This is where you start to see the big name brands that have taken over social media at different points over the last few decades, like Hydro Flask, YETI, Swell, and now Stanley. These are all really good bottles and really well-known brands, so it's hard to go wrong here. However, if you buy from these brands, just be aware that a big part of the price you're paying is for this little bit of paint. These brands charge a premium, and those higher margins allow them to pump more money back into marketing and sponsorships with influencers, which then creates a sense of prestige and FOMO, which in turn leads to more social media crazes and drives demand. Plenty of people love staying with the trends, and there's nothing wrong with that, but personally, I'm into more practical features, and from all the bottles I've tested and seen, I can't say that I usually see that much of a difference between a lot of the tier 3 and tier 4 bottles. Now you could also lump some other trendy bottles in with this group, like Circle and Air Up. which each use different types of flavor pods. But the prices on those is pretty tricky because it depends how many pods you buy, and the cost really adds up over time. Now, $50 seems to be the current high end that most people will pay for a regular water bottle, which is why you haven't seen many viral bottles go for more than that yet. But more expensive bottles do exist, so let's take a look at a few in tier 5 that range between $50 and $100, which I call the specialists. This is where you find many specialty bottles that may not have a wide public appeal or need, but they could still be a good fit for you. There are ones with built-in blenders, which is pretty niche, but if you drink a lot of smoothies or mixes for workouts, then this could help. And there's a growing line of smart water bottles that can track your hydration and give you reminders on when to take a sip, which could help people improve their hydration habits. There are also a few titanium bottles, which are relatively new to the market and are very lightweight, but also durable. At the upper end of this tier, you start getting some bottles that make you feel like you're opening an Apple product instead of a bottle. Grail is a French press style filter bottle, and Lark has a built-in UV light to sanitize your water. I just bought each of these for $100 for an upcoming video where I plan to test different filters and self-cleaning bottles like these, so subscribe if you'd like to know when that video comes out. There are also more purpose-driven brands in tier 5 like Ocean Bottle, whose mission is to support ocean cleanup. I also just found out about another similar brand in the $40 range called Just Bottle, so that could be a good alternative for a little less. Now you get into tier 6 and triple-digit bottles, and these are the show-offs. Need an overpriced vacuum bottle with a Bluetooth speaker? You got it. Looking for a bottle with a blender that was designed by Apple engineers and want to charge Apple-level prices? Here you go. Hoping to find a decanter with a fidget spinner that markets it as structured water with healing properties? You do you. Honestly, there aren't that many bottles in this price range that I would recommend, and there are some that have some pretty wild health claims. But there are a couple options that I'll mention that could be useful. Lark's larger 25-ounce insulated UV sanitizing bottle and Grail's upper-end titanium version of their filter bottle is $200. And if you're just looking for a coffee mug, Ember is a well-known brand with a self-heating mug that maintains the temperature. These are all extremely high-end and specialty bottles and mugs, but if you have extra money or love credit card debt, then they could be worth considering. And as promised, I did an installation test with one bottle from each tier, other than tier 6 because I'm not Mr. Beast and I can't afford these bottles just yet. I filled each with the hottest tap water from my sink, measured the temperature loss after 4 hours, repeated it twice for good measure, and averaged the percent temperature loss. Here are the results, and it just goes to show you that a higher priced bottle doesn't necessarily mean it'll be better or have more benefits. Technically, all of these are double wall bottles. It has 2 walls, but they're just plastic and there's no vacuum insulation. So there's really no benefit here at all other than the fact that it keeps heat off of your fingers. This is a Hydro Flask. This is the more common type of bottle that you're probably used to when you talk about insulation. And this is a Revomax. It's basically this dual wall stainless steel, but they call it triple layer because it has this coating of copper. Remember, you don't need 20 bottles, you just need 1, 2, or maybe 3 that fit your lifestyle. Hopefully this video helps you find your perfect bottle. Thanks for watching and happy hydrating.